95% of ecom brands are probably tracking the wrong metric when it comes to pop-up forms, and it is costing them thousands in revenue. So most ecom brands, when it comes to pop-up forms, typically look at the form submission rate. So this is the percentage of people that see the pop-up form, give you their email, and then go on their way. Now, focusing on this approach typically results in more non-buyers, which then leads to less revenue, higher Klaviyo fees, because you're just bloating your list with people that are never going to buy, and it doesn't inform your overall strategy. Now, the better metric or KPI to focus on is your subscription to conversion rate. So this goes one step further than the submission rate. This is the percentage of people who sign up and then place an order off the back of it. So focusing on this KPI metric is actually going to result in more buyers, more revenue, whilst minimizing Klaviyo fees, because you might get slightly fewer signups, but you know that the people coming onto the list are going to be purchasing, and it informs your overall strategy. So the key thing to take away from that is when it comes to list growth, most brands are focused on just increasing the size of their list at the cost of bringing on low quality leads. So the main thing to take away is that quality always trumps quantity when it comes to list growth. So just an example here, focusing on submission rates and subscription conversion rates. So looking at only submission rate, let's take an example store where there's 100,000 unique site visitors per month. Traffic is being driven to like a standard 10% off pop-up form. And we've got two variations of the pop-up form. So one that's collecting zero-party data and one that's just collecting your standard email address and first name. So variant A, that's collecting the zero-party data, has a 8% submission rate. So that's 8,000 new subscribers based on the traffic numbers up here. Variant B has a 10% submission rate. So that's 10,000 new subscribers. Now, on first glance, you think, right, variant B is, the clear winner. Let's stick to this one. But that's what happens when you focus on just the submission rate. It sort of blinds your vision of the overall bigger picture, and it doesn't go deep enough in terms of driving revenue. So looking at the subscription to conversion rate, so these are all the same numbers, still 100,000 visitors per month, 10% off pop-up form with the same variance. Now, variant A, the one that had an 8% submission rate, actually has a 25% subscription to conversion rate. Now, why does it have a subscription to conversion rate that's higher than variant B over here? We're collecting this zero-party data, which can be used to personalize the welcome flow based on someone's answers. So it's much more contextual and relevant to that person. So with these numbers here, we're getting still the 8,000 subscribers, but 2,000 buyers. Now, variant B, again, still 10% submission rate, but it's only got a 10% subscription to conversion rate. So again, still getting 10,000 subs, but only 1,000 buyers. So if we take some, example numbers here, a $50 AOV, variant A with 2,000 buyers, that's going to be 100,000 in revenue. Variant B, that's only going to be 50,000 in revenue. So if you were to just focus on submission rate in this example, you'd quite literally be slashing your revenue in half from your welcome flow, which is going to be your biggest revenue driver for any ecom brand. So you're losing out on $50,000 every month. And you can see how over time that's going to add up. And you really are shooting yourself in the foot. But how does this help inform the overall strategy? So with that pop-up form collecting zero-party data, we can look at what answers in the pop-up form are driving the most revenue. So we can create segments of people that have answered specific questions or answers and tie them into who are our highest value customers, what traits, what answers do they have in common. This way, we can feed all of this data, feed it into our paid ads, our landing pages, our organic content, and really focus on addressing these questions and answers in those channels. So we're driving high quality traffic from the get-go who are much more likely to convert, and therefore you're going to drive more revenue. So what does a pop-up form actually look like that's collecting zero-party data? So a typical one that's just collecting the email address might look something like this. So you ask for their email address, and then they give the discount code, or you'd say go and check your email or your inbox. Now, going one step further and collecting zero-party data, we then have some questions that follow. So questions like, what are you interested in? In this case, it's teeth whitening. So one oral care brand. So it might be teeth whitening, oral care, their devices and accessories. So like toothbrushes. What matters to you most when buying? So what are their buying motivations? Is it the price, how easy it is to use, ingredients, effectiveness? Again, all of this can be manipulated depending on the industry that the ecom brand is in and their buying timeline. So when are they looking to buy? Is it today, a few days, a few weeks, a few months? Now, the answers that you're going to get here will be a good indicator of the traffic that you're driving. If loads of people are saying in a few months, then it probably means that your ad targeting or your creative is off because you're driving poor quality traffic that doesn't really have much intent. And then, of course, we give the discount code at the end. I'm a big advocate of giving a discount code in the pop-up form. Yes, it's going to reduce your email attributed revenue, but at the end of the day, that's only really a vanity metric. The more important thing for an ecom brand is, are they driving revenue? If it means slightly lowering your email attributed revenue, so be it. This reduces the friction for the customer, makes it actually much easier to make a purchase. Now, a lot of brands that we talk to say, oh, how will that massively impact sign-up rates? Our list isn't going to grow as quick. Now, we've got the data to show this. Now, this is just a small sample size here. But as you can see, 9.5% engaged in step one, an email address. And by the end, 8.5% completed. So that's just 5 people that have dropped off in that small, little series of questions. That is nothing because you're going to be getting a much higher percentage of buyers. So that little trade-off is worth it. Now, why is this important that we grow our list with more buyers? Obviously, we're going to drive more revenue from the welcome flow, but how does this trickle down into the rest of our retention strategy? So what we typically see in accounts is that 60 to 80% of most accounts lists are non-buyers. So in this example up here, 60% of prospects. That's in a slightly bigger database. And even in a smaller database, 82% of prospects here. Now, why is this important in terms of campaigns? So if you were to duplicate every campaign that you send one to your customers and one to your prospects, you'll see that about 80 to 90% of your campaign revenue is being driven from existing customers. So if we look at these examples here, as you can see, only roughly £70 for prospects, basically 10x that on the customers, so £651. And then again, as we go down here, prospects, buyers, prospects, nothing, buyers, £400, same here. So the reason why this is important is obviously if we're getting more people to buy as soon as they sign up through the pop-up form, then we're going to be growing our list with more buyers. And that means when we send campaigns, we've got a much larger opportunity pool when sending these campaigns to generate revenue. Because of course, if our list has more non-buyers, we know, like I've just shown you there, that most campaign revenue is driven by those people, more chance to make more revenue. And that is why most ecom brands track the wrong metric or KPI with pop-up forms and how it's a huge revenue blind spot and really loses them thousands of dollars in revenue every month. So if your ecom brand isn't doing this at the moment and you'd like help setting it up, optimizing your welcome flow with the data that we get from these pop-up forms and really having a data-driven approach with your email and retention marketing, then just click the link in the description of this video and book a call with us at Everboost and we'll have a chat and see if we're a good fit.